welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. Andre Onana set to leave Manchester United. He has done at the club. We know he's done at the club. He's third choice keeper. We are trying to push him out. But Manchester United goalkeeper Andre Onana is now understood to be open to going to Turkey. But the Turkish source that reported before Fabrizio Romano that Trabzonspor was even in for Onana has said that Onana has agreed to leave Manchester United and go to Turkey. We're going to talk about the latest on that because it looks like Onana is agreed to leave Manchester United and the deal is done for him. What is the latest on that? We've got updates coming in on, of course, Baleba. United are already preparing a bid for Baleba in January, and Baleba is going to push Brighton to let him leave in January. Is interesting reports coming up. We've got updates on Mason Mount and Matheus Cunha's injury as well. Boosts in regards to the injury front. We've got the latest news in regards to injuries and more. So yeah, lots and lots to get through, lots and lots to talk about in today's show. Mostly Baleba, mostly Onana, a little bit on the injury front. Obviously, international break period at the time. But yeah, also Lemen's back in training, all of that kind of stuff. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Feel free to hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe down below if you're new. And let's get into it. So we'll start with... Oh, let me actually share that. Well, should we start with the injury news or should we start with the Onana news? We'll start with the Onana. No, we'll start with the injury news, but I'm just trying to... let me get that up now. Bear with me. Let me share that. We've got updates on both Mounts and Cunha coming in from good old Sully, who is very well connected. So, let's get this up here. Someone said, isn't the transfer window closed? The transfer window is closed for the European teams, but it's open for the Turkish clubs, it's open for the Saudi clubs, which means Onana can still leave. Okay? So yeah, we'll start with the Mason Mount injury news. Mason Mount looks probably better off than Cunha right now. Cunha's applied to membership for the bomb squad. Oh my. So let's talk about it. So in regards to Mason Mount, this has come out from Sully. Now, Sully gets lots of good information in and around Manchester United. He sort of knows when there's an injury, he knows when there's a medical, he knows sort of the team a few hours before. Very well informed around Manchester United. And he basically said the Mount's injury is considered minor and Mount is only doing strength and rehabilitation work taken off as a precaution. So in regards to Mason Mount, he's saying he doesn't really expect it to be an injury. He was taken off because Amron doesn't want to take any risk because he was feeling it, and Mason Mount has just been careful. His exact words were exclusive. Understand Mason Mount's injury is not seen as serious and is considered minor. The 26-year-old is already doing strength and rehabilitation work in the gym. He's also working on a physical motion recovery plan, and Amron had taken him off for precaution. So in terms of Mason Mount, really, really good news coming in regards to the latest on his injury. I mean, he seems to get injured a lot, and it's annoying with Mason Mount because I was just like, he's doing really well. It's only a matter of time till he gets injured. But this looks like the injury where he's not going to miss really more than 2 or 3 games, which is good. Someone said Cobby comment. Has there been another comment or something? I will look that up in a minute. But like, yeah, luckily it's minor, but it is just Mason Mount. It is. Mason Mount getting injured is just the norm, sadly. And look, I like Mason Mount. I think he started the season really well. I think he's been one of our best players at the start of the season. So it's a shame that he got injured, but it's good that it's nothing minor. But obviously the bigger blow, and no offense to Mount because it's been fantastic this season, but the bigger blow is Cunha. Cunha is the player that obviously we want for the Manchester City game. I felt that when he came off versus Burnley, we lost a bit of tempo. I just think Cunha is a special player. I think Cunha is a brilliant player, and I know he hasn't got a goal or assist yet, but he's just looked good. He drives us forward. So what is the latest in regards to Cunha's injury? As reported a few days ago, the injury isn't seen as serious as first feared. Next few days are key to see how he fares with rehab, but City game looking unlikely as of today, but can change. So Cunha sadly doesn't look like he's going to be back for the City game, but things can change. There's a stronger possibility he could be back for the Chelsea game, which if someone said to me after Cunha came off with what looked like a hamstring incident, that Cunha might only miss one match for Manchester United, I see that's a positive. You know, Solly said Mateus Cunha is already using an exercise bike now. Today he was in a private gym in Manchester, and as I said a few days ago, Cunha's injury is not as serious as we once first feared. The next few days are going to be key to see how he does with rehab. As of now, I don't think he'll make the Manchester City game, but, you know, there's a potential he could be ready for the Chelsea game, which means Cunha only misses one game, or he could be on the bench for the Manchester City game. I don't know if he'd be ready to start. But, you know, the fact that we haven't lost Cunha and Mount for a number of months and that they might miss maybe 1 or 2 games max is definitely positive news there, because they're two really important players that I think have started the season really well. We've all seen the best of Mount if he stays injury free. I agree. We've all seen the best of him as well. Do you think Cunha will be back for the City game? I mean, it says it's unlikely. I think he'll be back for the Chelsea game. Cunha. I think Mason Mount, by the sounds of it, could be back for City. Mason Mount, by the sounds of it, could be back for City. I think Cunha may be back for the Chelsea game. Ahmad and Mbeumo are going to cook against City, but Cunha will be missed. Yeah, I tell you what. How good was Ahmad and Mbeumo in that Burnley game? We finally saw what Ahmad and Mbeumo can do together in that Burnley game, and it was frightening. And Mbeumo's actually won Player of the Month. He's got Goal of the Month. He's obviously started this season really well, Brian Mbeumo. And we saw how threatening they were in that Burnley game. Obviously, there was a lot of things not great in that Burnley game and the other end of the pitch. But Ahmad and Mbeumo were very lethal. And it'll be interesting to see what we do versus City, because if there's no Mount and there's no Cunha, I'm assuming Bruno will play as a 10 and Sesko will play up top. I'm assuming it could be Bruno, Sesko, and Mbeumo as the 10s, Ahmad and Dorgo as the wing-backs, because Delo's injured as well. And then I assume maybe a Kobe Casemiro pivot or an Agate Casemiro pivot, I think is what we're going to probably see for the Manchester City game, which will be interesting. But there's a potential that there's a potential that Mount could be back for that game. There's a feeling he's around for that game. I don't know if he'd start. Cunha again, I think he could be around for that game, but we don't know if they'd start. It'd be interesting to see what we might consider doing. Isn't Sesko supposed to be carrying an injury? I'm not sure. I think Sesko said he wasn't fully fit when he joined United and needed a bit of time and pre-season, but I don't know if he's carrying an injury. I couldn't tell you that. Shane Mount's injured. I think Bruno will play left 10 or Xerxes will, if those two are injured. But the one thing that worries me about Manchester United this season in attack is the lack of blistering pace. With Rashford gone, with Garnacho gone, I feel like we lack that blistering pace. Like, Cunha's quick, but he's not quick like Rashford or quick like Garnacho. He likes ball to feet. You know, Ahmad is not as quick as Rashford and Garnacho, but he's quick. And Mbeumo's probably our quickest player. Xerxes is not quick. Mount's not quick. Bruno's not quick. Sesko's pretty quick, to be fair. But, I feel like what we need is a Semenyo next summer. And there's talk that we're already working on a deal for Semenyo, blah, 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 blah. And apparently Semenyo's got a 60 million release clause. But I look at it and I look at someone like Semenyo who can play wing-back and 10 and has blistering pace, and I go, if next summer we can get Baleba, Wharton, Semenyo, and probably another centre-back for depth, I think we'd be in a really good position this time next year. I think that's what we need, because I think the attack is great, and I think we've got all these 10s and stuff, but I do think we lack that option of just blistering pace, like an option that's going to give us that blistering pace that we need. But look, people, I want to talk about Onana. I want to talk about his exit. It looks like Onana's set to go. So we're going to talk about that. Onana was so slow and bad at saving low shots. If you didn't know better, you'd think he was being paid to lose. That's how bad some of his nonsense were. I mean, some of the goals that Onana let in, it felt like how could you let that in? Are you doing it on purpose? It was the penalties, the amount he got his hand to as well. It was worrying. But yeah, let's dive into the Onana news. I don't know why I'm so tired today. We've got a lot of news on Onana and I want to get into it. Cunha is quick, don't get me wrong, but I'm just talking blistering pace, Keep Bruno for 1 more year, I agree. We need the stability of when Bruno's in the team. A lot of people want to sell Bruno. I think he's the problem in holding back the system. But mate, without Bruno, we'd be so bad. I'm telling you this now. So what is the latest on Andre Onana? What has been said in regards to Andre Onana? Andre Onana has agreed to join Trabzonspor. Contract negotiations with Onana's representatives have begun. So reports coming out that Onana has agreed to join Trabzonspor. It was also said Onana is considering a loan move to Turkish side Trabzonspor just a few hours before that. Now, this Turkish source of information was the first guy to speak about Onana going to Trabzonspor and actually spoke about there being an agreement between Man United and Trabzonspor before Romano. I was sceptical when I see Turkish sources saying this and that. But this is the Turkish source that beat Romano to the last story on Andre Onana, and he is now coming out and saying that Andre Onana has agreed to the move. Now, you might be asking, Alison, what's so significant about that? Well, Fabrizio Romano and Tier 1 sources confirmed that United had agreed a deal with Trabzonspor, and now it's up to Onana. So the whole chances of Onana leaving is up to Onana if Onana wants to go. We've now got reports today from that same journalist that broke the story before Romano and Ornstein that Onana has now agreed to the move. So Onana has now agreed to the move, yeah, and we've agreed to let Onana go there, and we've actually reached an agreement with the club, and now the club is having contract negotiations with Onana, and when that is agreed, Onana is gone, he's left. And look, it's not a permanent deal, it's a loan deal, we'd all prefer a permanent deal, there's no obligation to buy, there's no option to buy, but it looks like Onana is going to Trabzonspor. He's considering the move, he's seriously considering the move, and now reports are coming out that he's actually agreed to join. There's reports coming out that Onana has actually agreed to leave. So that's big news coming up as well. What is the Cobby comment that everybody's talking about? The whiplash photo? I'm so confused. Has Cobby done something? A lot of people saying speak about the Cobby comment. I just said the whiplash thing I think is overreaction. I don't see any comments from Cobby Mainoo on Twitter. Have a look. Oh, Cobby Mainoo says that speculation around his recent Instagram activity is a stretch. Ah, that makes sense. We'll go back to Onana in 1 second, but a lot of people have been talking about Cobby in the chat. So the United stand, obviously we're having a conversation about Cobby yesterday. Is Cobby Mainoo's recent Instagram post a cause of concern, or is it just a coincidence being blown out of proportion? And Cobby Mainoo saying it's a stretch. He's saying, the speculation around his Instagram activity is a stretch. That's Cobby Mainoo saying people are like stretching it, like looking for something out of it. And I said it yesterday. I said I don't think it's about Amarin. I think it's because Cobby Mainoo posted loads of pictures of him working hard and training hard, and then he then references a movie where the person is trying to perfect their skill and be the best they can be. And I was like, that's how I read it. He's just working hard. But then because in that movie, the guy couldn't always please his mentor, people then was referencing that. And Cobby Mainoo was saying the media's stretching it. And I will say this, it's international break. It is the September international break. The main transfer window was over. There's no games on at the moment. The minute there's a half story or a minor story, the media want to make something out of it. If you work for mainstream media, even when there's international break, your boss, your producer is probably coming out and saying, we need a story this week. If you work for the Mail or the Daily Mirror or the Guardian, they're like, we need a story this week. You do Man United news. Man United gets us clicks. We need a story this week on Man United for clicks because we need to get paid. We need to make our money. Man United is how we make our money. So mainstream media are thinking, well, Cobby Mainoo's posted this. Let's go and make out that it was about Amarin and that he's turning on Amarin and that him and his teammates all hate Amarin and he wants to be three. And we can write some headline like Mainoo takes big dig at Amarin. And then they can create a media story out of it. And I think it is that whole, it's international break. There's something that's quite small here, but let's turn it into something big because we need clicks because we don't have anything to write about when Man United gets us clicks and we're the Daily Mail. That's how I read the Mainoo situation. I didn't think it was that deep, and Mainoo's pretty much confirmed that himself. But yeah, big up for that. Big up for that because I did not see that. Alice has got Baleba on the thumbnail. We must confess, it's Baleba back on the thumbnail because we are talking about Baleba. When I have a player on the thumbnail, 99.9% of the time I will be talking about that player on the thumbnail in some way or form, or there'll be some news about it. Like sometimes you'll put someone like Amarin on the thumbnail because I'm talking about Man United. He's the manager. We might not talk about Amarin, but we have got news on Baleba and a January move and a January transfer story. And it's not me, deluding myself and making up Baleba stories. There is news on Baleba we will discuss. But we're gonna get into and continue the Onana news. Do you think Mainoo will go in January? No, I think unless Amarin does really well at Man United and Mainoo can't get a game, I don't think Mainoo will leave. I think Mainoo will outlive Amarin if Amarin's form doesn't pick up. Baleba in the summer. Well, apparently we're going to make a move for Baleba in January. Alice, why is Mount and Shaw still here? They're always injured. They need to go. Well, Shaw hasn't been injured yet, and Shaw and Mount have both started the season well. But I know what you mean, particularly with Luke Shaw, because he's been here a while. It's mad to think he's still at the club. But look, I can't fault Luke Shaw so far this season. He's probably going to get injured soon, but I can't fault him because I think he's been pretty good when he's played this season. Yes, but going back into the Onana news. So, Romano confirmed yesterday Manchester United had agreed a loan deal with Trabzonspor for Onana. They're now waiting on approval from Onana. Reports in Turkey are now saying Onana has agreed to join Trabzonspor, which means the deal was essentially done and that there's contract negotiations underway. We also know from earlier that Onana was considering the move. Ben Jacobs also said he was considering the move. And David Ornstein dropped the bomb yesterday that Andre Onana is open to joining Trabzonspor and waiting to review contract for a proposed move to Manchester United. Trabzonspor want 29-year-old goalkeeper available for their next game versus Fenerbahce on December 14th. A deal with Manchester United will be a season-long loan, no fee or buy option, but David Ornstein has confirmed that Onana is open to the move. And now we've got reports coming out this morning that Onana has actually agreed to join them. So Onana has agreed to join them after being reported he's open to the move. And they want him for their next game versus Fenerbahce on September 14th, which means Onana could be officially out the door very, very, very soon. So that's big news coming in there in regards to Onana. He is pretty much gone. He's done at Manchester United. If he stays, he's not going to play. And what I like about this, and what I like about this from Ruben Amorim, is I feel like it's very tactful. It is we couldn't get rid of Onana and Højlund at the beginning of the window. We could not get rid of Onana and Højlund at the beginning of the window. So it was like, we'll buy the replacements, not play them, and then they'll leave. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that Ineos strategy of, right, we want Onana and Højlund to go, but both those players didn't want to go. Both Onana and Højlund were adamant they were going to stay at Man United and fight for their place. But Ruben Amorim did not rate them. He wanted them both gone. He was bigging them up in public. He was praising them in public. But in private, we knew that he wanted them to go. And I've been telling you this for ages. Just because Amorim comes out and speaks all these good things about Højlund, all these good things about Onana, and just because the media briefs stuff like Amorim's happy with Højlund, Amorim's happy with Onana, that was a tactic from Man United to make sure we can draw some interest in them. That was a tactic from Man United. I've known all summer Amorim's wanted to sell Højlund and Amorim's wanted to sell Onana, and I've been saying that all summer. I got called a liar because there was briefs coming out that we didn't want to sell them. I said, look, Man United want to sell those players. I know that. I've spoke to someone. They want to sell those players, but they wanted the whole, we're not looking to sell them public facade, so we could actually get a bit more money for them. They weren't going to put them in the bomb squad because of different reasons. Højlund's got a good attitude. So what Man United had done, because they knew that Højlund and Onana weren't going to go, is they've brought in Sesko, and then Højlund's like, crap, I need to go. Brought in Sesko, completely throws Højlund out. Now Højlund's agreed to leave. They've brought in the men's. They've froze Onana out because they're playing Bayendir. Now Onana's agreed to leave. Like, that's the one thing that I think Amorim and Ineos are doing well, is buy a goalkeeper, keep playing Bayendir. We wanted Onana gone. We kept playing Bayendir. We've now brought a goalkeeper. We told Onana he's third choice. We're freezing him out. He's now realised, well, I'm not going to play. I should probably go on loan to Turkey. With Højlund, he wanted to stay. We brought in Sesko, then he didn't get a minute. He's gone. It's what Manchester United's new tactic is, and I have to say, that's what bigger clubs would do. We want to get rid of this player. He won't leave. Under Woodward and Arnold, Onana and Højlund would still be here. Onana and Højlund would still be here under Woodward and Arnold. If we didn't have Ratcliffe or Amorim and we had those other people, Onana and Højlund would still be here, and we wouldn't have signed Lemens and we wouldn't have signed Sesko because we wouldn't have been able to get rid of those players. Under Ineos, with Amorim, we've been able to get rid of those players, which is really good. The bomb squad is good. Bomb squad gone is good. Onana gone, Højlund gone. We've managed to get rid of those players. I'm just going to take a sip of water, and then I want to get into the next few stories. Onana and United's relationship was toxic. Glad it's over. Well, fingers crossed it's over. It's not official, obviously. We know Onana's greedy. Onana wanted a 25% pay rise at Manchester United. Onana needs to agree a contract with Trabzonspor. Onana wanted a 25% pay rise at Man United. We know he's greedy, so it's not officially done yet, but Onana's agreed to leave, and we've agreed Onana's loan, so it should be done. But look, I wanted it to work with Onana. I was quite excited when we first signed Onana because I got sold off the Champions League final. But he needs to go. Positivity, eh? When do you think Amorim sacked? Hopefully never. Well, never sacks, and he's here 20 years and wins 20 trophies and retires are great. I do worry because we didn't sign a midfielder. That I think we're going to beat Man City next week, and I think we're going to get a result versus Chelsea, and I think all of a sudden we're going to be in a good position. But then I'm worried when it gets to November and we've got easier games, we've got to break teams down, and our build-up gets caught out. I think Christmas time. I want Amrin to survive the season. I want Amrin to succeed. And I think there's a lot of positive signs, but I think without midfield signing, there's a potential he goes at Christmas time. And that wouldn't necessarily be Amrin's fault. They didn't get him the midfielder that he desperately needs. I just realised we are lagging. I do apologise. Let me share something to make the screen less blurry. Is that less blurry? Is the screen blurry? Malacia, I'm assuming, is what you mean there. Malacia is still here. He's looking at Saudi and Turkish clubs. Malacia is the player in the bomb squad that's in the bomb squad, not because of his attitude, but because we just want to find him a team. Like Amrin has no issues with Malacia. Like Sancho's in the bomb squad because of attitude. Garnacho and Rashford were in the bomb squad because of issues with Amrin. Whereas players like Malacia and Anthony, they're in the bomb squad more because we just want to get rid of them rather than like issues with the manager per se. So look, Malacia, I think the plan is to find him a loan move, but there's a possibility he could stay. And I think out of all the players in the bomb squad, if one did end up staying, I think Ruben Amorim would have wanted Malacia. Not that he'll play really. Malacia's just gone because of injury issues, pretty much. Wharton, Baleba, Semenyo and a centre back. So where's the 300 million coming from? And what about all the other clubs who will want them and have Champions League, which we won't? Time to get real and stop the fantasy, says Andy. I mean, it is a bit of a fantasy, don't get me wrong, but Semenyo agreed to join Man United, then signed a new contract at Bournemouth. Baleba apparently has given his word that he wants to join Manchester United even without European football. Adam Morton might be a difficult one. I don't think we'll get Adam Morton, to be honest. But you've got to remember that Manchester United, when you look at if Højlund goes, have made over £160 million this year. I mean, look at the money we've made in clauses, sell-on clauses from our players. You know, Alvaro, we've made money through Greenwood, qualified for the Champions League with Marseille, 5 million, 7 million for Elanga going to Newcastle, 6 million for Alvaro going to Real Madrid, 2 million for Maxi Odeleye going to Strasbourg. We've made money through clauses, 5 million just from giving Sancho back. We've made money through clauses of our players. We've saved a lot of money in Rashford and Antony's wages. We've saved 40 million pure profit for Garnacho. We've got 5 million loan fee for Højlund, 5 million in wages saved for Højlund, and we're going to get 38 million for him if Napoli qualify for the Champions League next year. So we got that. The money we're going to save with Casemiro's wages leaving at the end of the season. With Casemiro and Maguire set to leave at the end of the season, that's nearly 30 million a year saved on wages. We've brought in just this summer through wages, sell-on clauses and sales, 160 million if we include Højlund in that. We also will save another 30 million in wages from players leaving next year. So when you add that all up, we've actually could be raising in 200 million in just over a year, which is a lot more than you actually think when you add it on paper. So that's sort of one of the situations with United and where the money's coming from, because we've actually look. I think we could have sold Garnacho for 50 million, and I think we could have sold other players better. I think we could have got 10 million more for Antony. I think we could have got 10 million more for Garnacho. I think we could have got a fee for Marcus Rashford, but we've sold all right. We've sold all right this summer in general. Malacia's in the bomb squad because he's just not good enough. Basically, Malacia isn't in the bomb squad because he's got a bad attitude. He's been injured and he's not good enough. Like that's the truth of the matter. I want Amorim to stay. I'm tired of changing managers every half season. I agree. I'm fed up of changing managers. Look, if we get to like December, January and we're 16th, 17th for the league, he's probably got to go, despite not getting a midfielder. But I agree with you. I don't want to be sacking managers, this and that. I'm fed up of sacking managers. I want it to work with Amorim. I want him to be successful. Bish bash bosh. Rashford, England miss. Did he miss something for England? I don't watch England this World Cup. Rashford. I got told Rashford played well for England yesterday. Apparently he did some nutmegs and stuff. What did Rashford miss for England yesterday? I don't know. I didn't watch the game. Oh, they're already writing reports. The Telegraph's already writing reports on Marcus Rashford's performance. Rashford failed to deliver a wow performance for England, did he? I didn't watch England. Apparently Rashford was better than most of the players on the pitch, but they're already writing hit pieces on Rashford because it gets clicks. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Again, I didn't watch the match, so I can't tell you that. Who do you think our next signing will be? Well, let's talk about Baleba because the guy is in the thumbnail, and everybody always jokes they keep putting Baleba in my thumbnails because, you know, one of my favourite players who's been pretty crap the first few games for Brighton this season. I won't lie. I don't think he's fully fit, or I don't think his head's there. But let's talk about Carlos Baleba. So, this came out from Sean Connolly. Manchester United are prepared to place a bid for Carlos Baleba in January to see off any rival suitors. The player has requested that Brighton accept any suitable bid and is eager to join Ruben Amorim's group with or without European football, as he views the growing project as an irresistible opportunity. So, obviously, we spoke about Carlos Baleba yesterday, and what Romano had said on Carlos Baleba, which very much suggested that Manchester United were going to go back in for Carlos Baleba. You know, Romano pretty much suggested that we liked Carlos Baleba, we are thinking of going back in for the player, this and that. And we sort of got indications going off yesterday's news that maybe Carlos Baleba had given his word to Manchester United. United decided not to sign a midfielder because they didn't want to ruin their chances of getting Carlos Baleba. Like, the whole reason we didn't sign a midfielder is because we didn't want to ruin our chances of getting Carlos Baleba next summer. And United had conversations with Carlos Baleba, and Romano said this, where Carlos Baleba made it very, very, very known that he's interested in joining United, even about European football. United had enough conversations with Carlos Baleba and his agent to pretty much get a word from Carlos Baleba saying, I want to come to Manchester United, even about European football. This is the project I want to join. So then Man United were like, let's not sign a midfielder, so we've got the funds to get him later. Now, later, I assume, means next summer. Later means next summer. We know Baleba wants to join. We know Baleba's given his word and keenness that he wants to join, even without European football. He wants to be part of the project. So the feeling is maybe we go for Baleba next summer. Okay. But now reports are coming out saying we could go for Baleba in January. Manchester United are prepared to place a bid for Carlos Baleba in January to see off any rival suitors. The player has requested that Brighton accept any suitable bid and is eager to join Amorim's group with or without European football, as he views the growing project an irresistible opportunity. So this bottom bit links to what Romano said, and that is that Baleba still wants to move, even without European football. He's given sort of indications United wants to come. But he is now saying, Sean Connolly, who's decent, a source of information, that United are prepared to bid for Baleba in January. Man United obviously don't want to wait until next summer to get Baleba because there will be more teams in for Baleba and his mind could change. They don't have an official agreement with Baleba, they just have his word that he wants to join, and something could change next summer and he could go to Liverpool. So maybe United are saying, well, we're going to go test the waters in January. We've got that money from Højlund coming in. We've saved money with Sancho going and Onana going. We'll go for the player in January, who also hasn't started the season well. So maybe Brighton are more open to selling in January. And the player did say to Brighton, please accept any suitable bid. So if we make a suitable bid, the player will put pressure on Brighton to accept that. Now, Brighton's suitable bid for me is anything above sort of 70, 80 million. Suitable bid for Brighton is probably above 100 million. But United are hoping maybe they can get the player for 70, 80 million. And the player would push for the move, and the player wants to go. Transfer strategy, unsettled Baleba, let his performances this season buy him next year at reduced price. Seems to transfer distraction to United's affecting him. It's a theory I have. It wouldn't shock me. I think we're more strategic in the market now. I think it is going for Mbeumo, unsettle Mbeumo, make Mbeumo reject every other club that's interested in him, so his only choice left is Man United, and try and put pressure on Brentford to sell him cheaper because he only wants Man United. You know, I think with Sesko, we didn't want to make a bid for Sesko until we knew we were the club he was going to choose. And we got Sesko for 5 million less than Newcastle bidded because Sesko chose Man United and he wanted Man United, said no to Newcastle. So Newcastle walked away. So then RB Leipzig had to accept our bid that was slightly less than Newcastle's. Making our moves for Baleba sort of unsettled him a bit, gives us an advantage. Maybe Brighton sell him. But I think we've got a plan of unsettling players, or trying to get players' words that they want to join us. So then those players only want us to try and negotiate their price down when we go and try and buy them. And I think when it comes to exits, we're often buying players that we want to force out as replacements to then force them out. Because in the past, Manchester United wouldn't sign a striker because they couldn't sell the current striker, or they wouldn't sign a midfielder because they couldn't sell the current midfielder. And now Man United are signing that striker and signing that goalkeeper, and then they're using it to force Højlund and Onana out. Because imagine if we said we can't buy Lemens unless Onana leaves. Onana would never have left. Imagine if we said we can't buy Sesko unless Højlund leaves. Højlund would have never left. So Ineos are doing things like buying the players first to get the players they want to leave. But also when it comes to buying the players they want to sign, they're almost tapping them up a little bit in the sense of just letting them know that we're here, we're available. Do you know what I mean? Maybe unsettling them a bit. I think it's a little bit of a strategy that we've been using. Big up to everybody in the chat. I hope you're all doing well. Onana is set to leave Manchester United. Obviously, we're waiting for him to agree the contract, but he has agreed to leave, and Manchester United have agreed a deal with Trabzonspor. So Onana is set to leave. Apparently, he's mulling over the offer over whether to join Trabzonspor. The Turkish club wants to sign him, and they want to sign him quickly. So we could get updates on that. We've got updates that obviously we are interested in Baleba and could make a bid in January. We've got updates that Cunha's injury is not as serious, which is good news. So, guys, that is all your news and Manchester United updates. It is rounded up sort of in half an hour for you guys. I do apologise if it's a little bit sleepy or tired today. I don't know what it is. I'm just knackered at the moment. But yeah, that's the end of today's show. Thank you for watching. Bye.